getting...
You can't always...
This is the death
remarkably end.
Turn back towards God. Rise up.
Hi, I'm Hannah Martin. Welcome to another episode of Beats. Today we're talking with Catholic musician Francesca LaRosa.
Lord, let me sit at your feet. Take all my stress and worries. Come, write a love story with me.
Hi, how are you?
Good to have you.
Thank you, you too.
So tell me, I would love to know, like, first off, your background in music. Like, how did you get into music? Like, including your childhood. Maybe that's where it started. I'd just love to hear about that journey.
Absolutely. I started playing piano when I was 4, and I've loved it ever since. And then I started playing at Mass with my dad in 3rd grade. And my dad played guitar, my uncle played guitar, my aunt played bass, and yeah, it just was my dream to play at Mass with my dad.
That's awesome. So what did your dad do at the church?
He played guitar and played music at our 5 p.m. Mass, and
okay,
yeah.
So that's how you got started. Mm-hmm. And then it accelerated pretty fast because I think you said that your first albums were in high school. Is that right?
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
I wrote my first song in 8th grade. I was going through a hard time with bullying and things like that, and everyone was popular, and I was the girl who played piano at church, so I just wanted everyone to get along. So I wrote this song called We Are, and it's all about we are the body of Christ, and I shared it with my music teacher, and she said, let's do this at school mass, and I'm like, I don't want to sing in front of anyone. I just wrote this, I just wanted to share it with my teacher, and we started singing that song at church, and yeah, my parents said, if you write enough songs, we could make a CD. And I don't know if they were really serious about it, but I was like, I'll write an opening song for Mass, I'll write a song for gifts, I'll write a song for communion, and I was like, I have 10 songs, we're gonna do an album, and they're like, oh, she's serious. So yeah, so I did my first one, and yeah.
Wow, so your first album, which you wrote in high school, was based on the parts of the Mass.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah,
I have not heard that before. That's amazing.
Thank you, I love church. So yeah.
Your parents got really blessed with you, man.
Oh.
That's awesome.
I hope they think that. I love my parents, though. They're so supportive, and I literally would not be here without them, and my siblings too. They're just the best.
Wow. And then what did you do after? Did you go right into music after high school? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I knew I wanted to do something in music, so I went to Ball State, and I started in vocal performance, so that was very opera-oriented, which I loved, but I had a deep desire in my heart to teach, and I thought I'd go back to school when I was 50 years old, and I was like, okay, I'll just go back to school then, but I figured if I'm already here, I might as well just get my education license, so I changed my major to music education. And I started teaching in these schools in Muncie, Indiana, and I fell in love with teaching children.
So you're a teacher and you do music. So tell me more about teaching.
Yeah. So I was going to teach in a classroom, but I actually got a job at my home parish. So my priest came up to me, and he just wanted me to sing at weddings and funerals, and I was still student teaching. This was March, and I graduated in May. He said, come into my office. I just want to talk to you with our business manager about you possibly singing at weddings and funerals at our church on the side. And I said, okay, perfect. I want to be a missionary. I want to go do either net ministries or something. I knew I wanted to do music missionary work. So when I sat down with them, they passed over this job description, and it said music director of the parish. And I was like, I wasn't looking for this job, like I want to be on the road. I want to just be doing retreats with children. And he said, I want you to pray about this. And I was like, Monsignor, I love you, but I don't see myself doing this job. So I came home and I prayed about it, and my whole family was like, you would love this. You should do this. And I said, I don't know. But the more I kept praying about it, the more God said, please do this. So I said yes. We need to get the kids involved in ministry. So I started a children's choir for kids in grades 3 through 5. And then I wanted a middle school choir because I'm just so connected to girls at that age. And then I kind of had like a high school group. And then we had an adult choir and lots of different ministries and some praise and worship, Eucharistic adoration nights, and Mass. My whole job revolved around Mass. And it revolved around church. And it was like full circle from writing that first album with all those songs about Mass. And then I had a job that revolved around church, and it was great. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And where did this amazing faith come from? Like, you obviously just, like, what did that look like? Did that come from your parents? Did you have like an experience? How did that happen?
Yeah, my parents are amazing. So my mom taught us the rosary and taught us all the prayers, and my dad was really, really passionate about music ministry and using our gifts to glorify God. So all my siblings play piano, we all sing, so we kind of had a family band. So like serving God with our gifts was so important, but it was a lot about knowing about the infinite being of God and adoring him and loving him, but I didn't really feel like I had that personal relationship with him until like 8th grade, and I was kind of going through that hard time of not really knowing who I was and fighting who I was, because I was like, I don't want to be a musician, I want to be a softball player, I want to be a volleyball player, I want to be like everyone else. Yeah.
That's what I want to be.
Yeah, and so I fought it for so long, and in my loneliness of being that musician, I just started saying, all right, I'm just gonna let it go, and I'm gonna let down my guard and have a prayer with God and just say, I know that you're there. I know that you can hear me. And that just kind of started a personal relationship with God on like a friendship basis. Something very different, like where he still truly is my father, but to let him in my heart and let him know me.
I bet you've been hurt. People took your heart and tore it apart. Look at me and believe me when I tell you they were wrong. If you think that what they say is true, the only one it hurts is you. Let it go. It's time you know you gotta just move on. In God's eyes, you're a beautiful miracle.
It seems like everyone in their faith journey have some experience like that, where they go from like surface level kind of to like deeper, and that's where it really gets rooted. So that's beautiful. Tell me more about the children's choirs and what you've seen come out of that and what that does for the kids and all of that, because it way more fruit than I ever thought could come out of a children's choir. I thought it was just something that was like cute, you know.
Yeah, we just really have a vibe, and I wanted to create a safe environment for them where they knew that they could open up and tell me anything that's going on, and I could kind of help them through that hard time so that middle school couldn't be as hard.
Yeah.
So
you're it's like their safe place. I think you were telling me earlier that there was a student who was having such a bad anxiety they weren't coming to school, but choir was the only reason they wanted to come to school, was to go to choir, and that was like their safe place. The power of music, you know, and God, you know, it's like God plus music is just, I just
it's
love
incredible.
That story is amazing.
Thank you. And it was cool, like, to take that choir and be like, now we can do this at a church. And to have the Eucharist involved in that was transformative. So we would start choir sometimes in the chapel, and the kids loved it. It was just like, it made me cry to see them kneel before the Lord, and they knew of his presence.
Yeah.
It just, it was really powerful to see young children fall in love with Jesus, to speak to him, and some of them wanted to stay in there the whole time. Like, I feel safe. There's something here that's different. So,
Like they're aware of it. They're aware of Jesus. Wow. So you have a song called Into Your Hands. So can you tell me, how did that song come about? What's the meaning of it?
So in high school, I was asked to sing a song at our Good Friday service, and my high school puts on like an incredible production. So I felt kind of a lot of pressure to write a song for this. I was like, I don't know if I'm like equipped for this. So I kept having this image of the first day that Mary meets Jesus, the birth of Jesus and how he's placed in Mary's arms. And then I also had the image of him dying on the cross and him being placed in Mary's arms. So it was going to be called Into Your Arms. And my mom, I love my mom so much, and she told me, it's gotta be hands. You know, it's Good Friday, like into your hands, I commend my spirit. So she really helped me so much with the visualization of starting with Holy Thursday. And that was just an incredible image. So the first verse is all about Jesus breaking his body. And then giving us his body and giving us the cup, and that's placed in the apostles' hand.
The night before Jesus died, he broke the bread and said, take and eat, this is my body, and he placed it into their hands. Then he took the cup of wine, lifted it up and said, drink, this is my blood, and he placed it into their hands. And he broke the bread, gave thanks and said, do this in memory of me. And even though they didn't quite understand, he looked at each man.
The second verse is all about the nails being placed in Jesus' hands, and then him being taken down from the cross and placed in Mary's hands. And then it comes full circle and talks about how the priests placed Jesus in our hands now. So yeah, it's all about hands.
Was betrayed, they took him away, they beat him down, he wore a painful crown, and they placed that heavy cross into his hands. He started to walk, he fell 3 times, his mother stood with tears in her eyes, and they pierced and hammered those nails into his hands. And he hung on that tree for you and for me, with so much pain and agony. And before he died, he looked to the sky and he cried, Father, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit.
I never thought about it that way.
Oh.
Like that, you know, God gives us himself in his hands, and then it's beautiful. Beautiful imagery. You have obviously you have this amazing musical background. You have these talents. You come from this talented family. Why go the route of Christian music versus like mainstream?
I tried going pop for like a short period of time. I really liked this guy in 7th grade, and I wrote this song, and like I recorded it on a cassette. And I like sent it to him. I wanted to be in their band, and it was just
Was that your like tryout tape, and they didn't even ask for it?
yeah, and I didn't get in. I was so bummed. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be in their band. I didn't get in, and pop just never worked out for me, ever.
So you tried it and it didn't work out?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then you kind of were like, maybe I'll stick to...
Yeah. And then I was in like a show choir in college, and we did all these really fun pop songs, but just, I didn't like the dancing. It was just like, some of the moves, I was like, I just feel uncomfortable doing some of this. So that was tough for me. And I remember I had this moment on stage in college where I was performing a song by myself. And it was this moment I had always waited for. It was like, this is my moment on stage, just me. And I had all the lights on me, and I can see the people in the audience, and I felt so empty. It was a horrible feeling where I felt like I was performing for myself. And I just like wanted to take off the fake hair, the fake eyelashes, and just run home. And like I left that performance and I went straight to the Adoration Chapel and I was like, I'm done performing for me. I just can't do it anymore. It's got to glorify you or I'm not doing it. So
That's a very clear moment.
Mm-hmm.
What do you hope that, like, when you are writing your music or singing or performing, like, what are you hoping that people are going to get out of it?
Well, I really want the music to really connect with students with anxiety and depression. That's kind of what this whole album is for. I really want the album to help children and anyone run to the Adoration Chapel, just to know that that's where they can find their healing, is with the Lord and in their own heart. So that's what I want all of these songs to lead them towards, and most of them were written in the chapel. So they're all kind of more reflective songs. But yeah, I just hope that it brings people peace in a time of hurriedness and distress. I just want people to feel God's grace.
How do you know that this is God's calling on your life?
I feel so much excitement just to work with the children, to speak to their parents. I love leading people to the Word of God, to the Eucharist. So it's really the joy that comes from it that keeps me going and makes me want to keep doing that. And the Lord is opening the doors. So I go where God leads me.
Hey, you over there, the girl who thinks her life's going nowhere. I'm here to tell you that, girl, I think you're wrong. I know somewhere there's a God up there who hears every single prayer, and He wants to help you believe that you are strong. In God's eyes, you're a beautiful miracle. You are the Father's beautiful miracle. So don't stop now, you're a beautiful miracle. God, let your life be a beautiful miracle. God's beautiful miracle.
Yeah, and you've written, I think you said 100 Psalms now?
I love the Psalms.
And you said
I
your
love
students like memorize the Psalms based on the songs
Yes.
that you taught them? That's so cool.
They're amazing. Those kids are just everything. So yeah, we do a lot of the responsorial Psalms when we sing at Mass. And the kids, they know them. It's amazing.
That's beautiful, because I know in my life, like, memorizing scripture, that's gotten me through tough times and like doubts, and so to have that implanted in their brain, I'm sure God will use that later on.
Thank you.
It's I've just never heard of that. It's so cool and
Thank
unique.
you. Yeah.
Very cool. That's great. And then you have another song that I wanted to talk about. It's Let Me Sit at Your Feet. So what's the background on that song?
I love the way that the Lord just pours His music out. I truly always think that the Lord writes my music, not me, because that's truly the case. But I was on a retreat, and the whole time that we were singing, I just felt this sway. And I couldn't understand why. Like, every time I sang, I felt this sway, until I just had this image of the Lord wanting to be in love with us. And I kind of took that as like Him wanting to dance with us as we swayed to His songs. And my favorite place to go was adoration in college. And we had adoration on Thursday nights. And we had this really cool praise and worship band where a lot of my friends were involved, and just like incredibly talented musicians and violinists and cellists and guitarists and singers. And it was just like one of my favorite things ever. I'd never been exposed to praise and worship. Yeah, I love praise and worship. So we started doing that and doing these songs. So in going to adoration, I felt this pull to just like gaze upon the Lord, and like a love story between me and Him and all of us. So it's kind of like a romantic song with us and Jesus, and how He wants us to just gaze at Him. And that's why I love adoration, because I don't feel worthy enough to receive God. It's just so sacred for Him to give us His entire being. Adoration is like the place that I can just gaze upon Him. Like, if I could just gaze upon the Lord, that's everything to me. So that's kind of what the song is.
Jesus, you captivate me. sit at your feet.
Yeah, I feel like it's just God giving us songs through you.
Oh, thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
What do you think is next for you?
Well, that's up to God. I wish I knew. If I knew, I would totally tell you, but I'm just open to whatever God leads me to. I'm hoping that I can keep working with more children's groups. I hope that I can keep recording more music, and I'm so fortunate to have a husband who produces music. I love how talented he is. I love how supportive he is. He is my everything. So just working with him is just God's grace. Definitely recording more music. I have a new album coming. So this year, I'm gonna be releasing an album called Chambers. And it's all songs I've written in my heart with the Lord. It's a very vulnerable album for sure.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. It's very vulnerable, and like to share these songs first with my husband and be like, I wrote this with the Lord, and I'm kind of scared to share this with people, but I know that I trust God in that. So I'm really excited about this album. The Chambers album, I'm gonna release my psalm responses. I'm getting all those published and recorded so that other churches can use them.
100?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's my goal. And then getting my mass setting published, and just my dream would be to have my music in the pews. I would love that. I would love that.
So you're more about like the music in the pews than like the stuff on iTunes or...
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I love mass and I love adoration.
Yeah.
Like that is my everything. So yeah, I'll probably like keep going back to that because that's like my whole life and my whole heart. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So where can we find you, like if people want to find your music online, where can they go?
You can find me on Spotify and iTunes and Google Play, Amazon. You can find my music on YouTube.
It's been like such a shout of joy and hope to talk with you and hear. I just love what God is doing with your music for those girls. Oh my gosh. My heart just breaks for middle school girls these days. It's like, probably because, I know what it was like. So I'm really glad that God has sent you out into that field.
Thank you.
So thank you for talking with us. And I hope to see you again soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Beats. We'll see you next time.
Let me sit at your feet. Ooh, let me sit at your feet.
Someone who's used media a lot in evangelization, so I believe in the importance of Catholic radio, Catholic TV, Catholics using the new media. Can I encourage everyone to watch Shalom TV? I think it's a great vehicle of evangelization. And God bless all of you.